Welcome to your High Vibe Business. I'm Laura DeFranco.
And I'm Donnie Bovine.
And we are here to help you create your badass high vibe business.
What does it mean to have a high vibe business? It's that business you're excited about. It lights you up and it helps you unleash that inner badass and really go for it.
You are a lover and a warrior, and you're here to change the world with your business. We will give you the strategy and resources you need to take this all to the next level.
You shouldn't do this alone. Start hanging out with other badass entrepreneurs and watch how fast your business grows.
You guys, Donnie Bovine runs a successful coaching and speaking business, and he's spent over 2 decades mastering sales.
And Laura DeFranco is an expert healer, 2 times business owner, 6-time published author, and spoken word poet.
Together, we're here to help you create your high vibe business. Hey you guys, today we're going to talk about sales prospecting. What do reach outs look like? What do the numbers look like? We're going to have fun with this topic today, you guys, I promise. And how about you take it from here, Donnie?
All right, guys. So here we go. Here's the interesting thing is everybody talks about sales as being a numbers game. They're absolutely wrong. Sales is not a numbers game. Prospecting is. And there's a big difference. Remember, guys, when we talked about in the last episode, sales is nothing more than a conversation, right? Prospecting, your business development activities, those are the numbers game. If you think of sales itself as a numbers game, you will never show up genuinely in the sales conversation because you're like, well, shit, this is number 10. This is number 11, right? And you're going to beat yourself down because you're like, how many freaking sales conversations do I have to have before something actually works and breaks through? Stop thinking that way. Start thinking on, how do I get the number of reach outs up? How do I get the number of activities up? How do I get the number of things I'm actually doing in my business, the business development stuff up? How do I turn those into fun activities that help me literally grow my business? And stop making your prospects a number. They're not a number, right? They are literally people that you're having conversations with. And yes, it may take a lot of conversations to get there, but if you take the unemotional side of they're just a entity, a number in my prospecting scheme, you're going to find yourself way better off than most people who are stuck up. Well, I've got to be, into 500 conversations before I close the deal out. Does that make sense, Laura?
Well, it does, but I want to know how you get past that. I mean, isn't it like difficult to not count? I mean, so I'm reaching out more now than I ever have because I am having a little bit more fun with it. And that's the part that I wanted to talk about today from my aspect is that this has never been fun for me. And so if it's something you absolutely dread, how is it ever going to work? That energy is so low vibe, right? So I needed to have more fun to get the energy up and just to make it more of a game and more of, I was reaching out to somebody on Facebook Messenger the other day as an example. And I see the messages come through to me. I know they're reach outs. I mean, I know they're, you know what I'm talking about?
Right. Oh, yeah.
So everybody knows that we're playing this game and it's hilarious to me now. So I like to have a little bit more fun with it and I like to be real about it. I want to get to know people, but they know what I'm doing and I know what they're doing. I just need to get past that, I think.
Yeah, totally. It was interesting. I had a guy reach out to me yesterday via LinkedIn, and you knew it was a complete sales ploy, right? and he was trying to phrase the conversation to not look like a sales ploy. My response to him is like, all right, cool. I don't need any bonding rapport. I don't need any how are you doing? Go ahead and make your pitch, right? And he came back to me. He goes, I freaking love that answer. Here's what I have to offer, right?
Perfect.
But I took control of his reach out on me.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
because I could tell that he knew he should be doing these reach outs. He should be, having these conversations, but he was also trying not to be a jackass about it. So
Which
I
is
just,
nice.
yeah, which is very unusual.
Yeah.
And I think we should talk about that a little bit, is how to not be a jackass during those reach outs. How do you get an authentic reach out?
Well,
You
what about if I back up and tell you, how do you not be like in that sort of scared energy? I know for a lot of healers, there's this thing that we just don't want to be looked at like that. We
Nobody
don't
wants to
want,
be looked at. It's not just healers.
yeah,
Well,
I know, it's everybody.
yeah, I mean,
So
so
I
so
don't,
let's do this. When you think of a salesperson, what's the image that comes to mind? What do you think of?
I think of that slimy
Yeah, of
used
course,
car
everybody
salesman.
does.
Yeah, like,
And here's
no.
and here's a funny thing that people don't understand is when you think about that, say, slimy greaseball slick back corduroy jacket sales guy, right? You got it? I got
Yep.
it. Right. When you think about that guy and you have that thought in your head as you're going into any sort of sales conversation, you attempting to not be that person makes you become that person,
Mm,
because you're trying to make sure you don't say the salesy things, the salesy maneuvers, and everything else, which forces you to say the salesy things and the salesy maneuvers because you're so nervous and pent up. It goes back to, be freaking you.
yeah.
Quit worrying that you're going to show up like somebody else. Or, I mean, guys, we're not in high school anymore. There is no popularity contest when it comes to business. It's a matter of, part of your role as an authentic, real business owner is to go have conversations and share your message with the freaking world. You know, Go ahead, 'cause I see it.
I know. Well, I want to go back to your example that you used with the guy that reached out to you. I am kind of that personality. I just want to cut to the chase. I have something awesome to offer, and I just want to tell you about it and get out of there. It's like, I don't know what that is in me, if it's an impatience or if it's just a lack of experience. But I guess what I want people to know is that doesn't always work like it worked in your case.
Right. No,
Um,
100% it
yeah.
doesn't. For me, I like to play a little bit, so I know what these reach outs and things are. So that's my MO, is to constantly try and have fun with those things. But here's the thing, guys. You can do, if you're honest and upfront during those reach outs, you're going to be amazed at how people respond. And so you can literally say in a reach out, hey, look, I could go through all the small talk and ask, how are you? And ask about the family and the kids and where you came from, where you live. Or I can tell you specifically what I have as a product and service, and we can decide if we should, move forward or not. As long as you ask for permission how to move forward, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Mm.
It's when you try and hide that maneuver and you do the bullshit, how are you? What are you up to? Tell me your story. All that stuff that you're trying to do to get into a sales conversation, that's when you become the grease ball. You know, um, like, so we'll go back to, we talked a lot about Facebook groups, right? And I know that one of my greatest moves is when somebody joins my group is to send them a private message that says, hey, really appreciate you joining my group. I appreciate you jumping in there. And it's a good first move because I'm not asking anything. And they'll usually come back and saying, hey, thanks for accepting me. And once I get that kind of first move, that initial engagement, that I'm like, hey, tell me your story. Why was this group a good fit for you? Where did you come from? And once you get them to dialogue, or if you go superhero game, monologue, their story, now you can go to that next move of asking a few questions that drill down on your business, what you do. Because like for me, I'm, when they tell me their story, I'm always, man, what a freaking awesome story. Where are you at now? Where is your business going from here? Right? If you know those tactical questions to ask, you can get them to go, well, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm trying to do. And my response to a lot of their questions is, and how's that going? And how's that
Hmm.
working? Right? Because it gets them to continue to open up. And at some point, and guys, I can't tell you when this exactly is, it's a gut move for me, is we'll get to a point and I'm like, man, I'd really love to answer that question, but it's going to be a lot of words for me to, type out. Can we take this to a Zoom call? And I'd love to help you out with that question. And what's interesting is that simple move there will allow you to get on a lot of Zoom call conversations, right?
And why is that the goal?
Well, for me, getting on Zoom calls, it's like sitting in a coffee shop. We're face to face, and I can read their body language. I can read their emotional composure. I can know when I've said something stupid, which I still do in this day and age. I can know when I say something right, and I know when they're emotionally engaged in the conversation. Because remember, guys, people buy emotionally; they justify it intellectually. So part of that process is to get them to this kind of emotional thought process of either where they want to be or what's keeping them from getting to where they want to go, right? If you get them to those two ideals, from pain to health, if you will, if you those two ideals, you can get them to really open up, and you really start creating this level of trust with them. Which for me is the key to all sales.
Well, I actually think we jumped ahead a couple of steps in this last couple of minutes. And I wondered if we could just backtrack, because I know people are like, well, that part's awesome, but I haven't even been able to get to that part yet, like where I have been able to invite people onto Zoom. So can we talk about the numbers for one more minute?
Yeah.
Just moving out into the world and getting to know people and making your connections and reaching out can look a lot of different ways, right?
Absolutely.
Reach outs can be in person. They can be by email. They can be by Facebook Messenger. They can be by your email newsletter. But there are, I think I have A list and B list for reach out, and my A list is the actual conversation that I got to have with someone. B list is passive. It's like, it might be an email or a newsletter, like,
right.
And hopefully they responded, right?
Absolutely.
And then I can get into a conversation. But talk to me about the numbers game again.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe that at any given time, you should have 3 business development activities going. 3 specific behaviors or habits that you're doing every single day. So think of it this way: we'll go old school to really freak your people out. Let's say, because my number one sales, through most of my career was cold calling, because I could pick up the phone, I could straight up cold call somebody, and that is 100% a numbers game, because you don't know how many gatekeepers you got to talk to. You don't know how many, executive assistants you got to talk to, and how many CEOs you finally get on the phone before you get into an actual conversation. That's a numbers game, right? So that could be one habit. Going to networking events and getting one-on-ones, that could be a habit. Doing social media reach outs, that can be a habit. And what I want people to start thinking about is, what are they doing every day to do business development in their business? What are those habits that they're showing up consistently doing? And this is the only portion of sales that's okay to be boring at. And what I mean is because this is the numbers game. This is what you got to do consistently. And I'll go back, I think right now, the greatest thing, because of technology right now, that you can do, that's an actual number you should do, is 10 reach outs every morning to start your day off. Whether you're doing that on LinkedIn, and these are just simple messages you're sending out via DMs or PMs, whatever you want to call them, private messages, direct messages, whatever you want to call them, on all these social platforms. That is a consistent behavior you can do every day. And the reason I do 10 is because it forces you to get creative with the reach outs. I don't want you to copy and paste these. I want you to type these out, because if you copy and paste, you're going to screw up with somebody's name or something else.
Well, that's my next question to you, is what does that message look like? Dude, I get so many of those on LinkedIn and I don't open them.
Right.
Like,
well,
tell me
and
what
it's
the deal
harder
is
for a
with
woman
that.
too, right? It's harder for a woman. I totally embrace and get that. So what I will tell you to do is, it takes me about a half hour to go through 10 reach outs. I'm going to go to LinkedIn and I'm going to go grab and look at somebody's profile that hits my avatar. And I'm going to look through that profile and find something I can key in on. Hopefully they've written, most of my avatars have written articles or they're active, right? So,
All right, so these aren't blind reach outs. So you did a little research
oh yeah,
first.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you do a blind reach out, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you can only send a generic message. It'd be like, if I didn't know anything about you, Laura, it'd be like, hey, Laura, awesome profile pic. I mean,
Yeah. Yes.
you have nothing to talk about. So,
Right.
but if you quickly jump into their profile and you find an article, and it's one of my favorite moves, is go quickly scan their 500-word article, leave a comment on said article, and then send them a message and said, hey, I just got done, reading your article on the migratory flight of penguins. I don't know. Can penguins fly? um, and these were a couple of my takeaways. Is this what your intent with your article was?
Yeah.
Right.
Nice. Yeah.
And then when you make that move, you are automatically doing what we call a stroke, an ego stroke. Right? You're making them feel good about themselves, because we all know it. Anytime we put something out there, we're hoping to hell that somebody goes, man, that was awesome. Great article. Thumbs up. Like, that vanity metric in there that really means nothing, right? Until you can get into conversations. But that feels good. So when somebody reaches out on something we did, we're like, oh my God, they really read it. Yes. So if you do that as portion of your reach out and you incorporate, it's like the other day I had a gal reach out to me, and it was the most brilliant move I've had on LinkedIn that happened to me. She goes, Donnie, I just got done listening to episode 190 something with so-and-so on there. Holy hell, what a conversation. And she went through and just started listening. I mean, she really listened to it, because she was telling me, it's like, I loved it about 10 minutes in, you were talking about this, and 30 minutes in, you were talking about, and she really went in. And we've got a Zoom call scheduled for today, from based on that reach out, because she really took the time. And I really kind of felt like I was somebody because of how much she was into that episode. I mean, it really felt good to receive that from her,
Yeah.
right?
It's nice.
So if we do that to others, then they can get that good feeling, and it leads to better and further conversations,
Mm.
you know, all the way through. So it's about consistently, finding a hook, if you will, that you can get into that conversation with.
Yeah, definitely. Makes total sense. And as a writer, I totally appreciate the article example because, we put stuff out there and we just don't know who's reading it or if they're reading it or if they're liking it or whatever. So that the person went the extra mile when they can say something about what's inside the article
Yep.
and, make a comment about it. So that's, yeah,
Well,
that
and
feels
and
good.
in addition to that, you can celebrate with them. Like I just put,
Mm,
you got another speaking engagement, and I put it out in a couple of places and said, hey, look, because of this speaking engagement, I got this speaking engagement,
yeah.
and the praise and things that comes through. I'm going to move that over to LinkedIn, because last time I put a post out there, hey, I want a speaking engagement, I had a couple people that sent me private messages and said, hey, congratulations on that speaking engagement. That's freaking awesome. That have now become connections, and we're having some conversations and dialogues. And it comes down to, guys, if you know that they've accomplished something that we know takes a lot of work to pull off, compliment them on that,
Yeah.
and get that conversation going. If their book hit bestseller on Amazon, compliment them on that. If their blog post is trending, anything like that, go in and celebrate them with them, because you guys know we all suck at celebrating our own wins.
Yeah,
So it feels good when somebody else comes in and does that with us. You
totally.
know? And this works face to face with networking too. When you start meeting people, get curious about them and start telling them how awesome when they start sharing some of the things that they're doing in their life. So for instance, if we're at a networking event and we're talking, and the stupid question that always pops up, what do you do for a living? And you get past all of that crap finally, and you start getting into real conversations. one of the things I'd always love to ask somebody is, what's one of the biggest wins you've had recently? And what I'll find is sometimes people got to think about it. But man, when they tell you that win, like, they closed a deal or they did this, or maybe it's their kids did something, man, at that moment, jump in and celebrate with them
Yeah.
because they're already in that emotional high, and it's real and it's authentic. You should celebrate with them. This is not a sales move. This is not a sales strategy. This is
Oh, this is a law of attraction high vibe move
yes,
too, because it's way better than feeling the opposites.
right.
And you're only going to attract it to yourself when you're in the energy. Yes, hot, big fan of celebratory energy in general.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's awesome.
And so really it's about thinking about everything you're doing out front in your business and putting a milestone goal for it. So let's say I'm talking about the 10 reach outs a day. Cool. If 10's a number that scares the hell out of you, can I do 5? Let's see if we can get to 5. If we can
Yeah.
get to 5, cool. Can we now get to 6 reach outs? Right? And start getting the incremental growth into it. Is it, if I'm a physical therapist type person and I need to go to the doctors and walk in those facilities and stuff, um, how many doctor's offices can I walk in today? How
Yeah,
do I
that was the cold call I made. Yours
yeah.
were phone calls. I walked in, I made a list of addresses. I drove around to each one of them and walked in those offices cold and you said gatekeeper, which made me chuckle because a lot of the time it's the secretary that you're making the
Mhm.
relationship with, and
Yeah.
that counts.
Oh, it does. It does. And, in those situations, I would teach people to do what's called a drive-by. And what a drive-by or a milk run, however you want to look at it, is I would have taken your physical therapy practice and we would have mapped it out. I would have put it in 4 quadrants. And week 1 of the month, we'd be in the 1 quadrant. Week 2 of the month would be in this quadrant. Week 3, week 4 would be in this quadrant. And then every 30 days, you're in that office saying
Mm,
hi, meeting Sally or Bill, the receptionist,
yeah.
and they know you're going to show up every 30 days. And what happens is eventually the other person's going to screw up. And then that's when you get the nod to get your clinic in there. You know,
Uh-huh.
so it's just about thinking about how often can I show up doing the right activities, doing the right things so I can get somebody to raise their hand and say, let's sit down and have an actual conversation.
Yep, I like it.
Yeah.
And we got to
Yeah.
do the reach outs, you guys. I know I've been bad at it myself, mostly out of just fear. It's that, yeah, I don't know what that is, but like it's a boring kind of fear at this point. So I have set a goal for myself for between 5 and 10 a day. And the other part of that goal is to get it done first before anything
Yeah.
else that I do.
Well,
And
here's
that helps a lot.
one of the most unique prospecting activities I've ever seen in my life was 3 young ladies that were in my sales training courses back in the day. And one sold copiers, one sold IT services, and the other one sold like phone and telecom services. These 3 gals literally went and did walk-ins together. They did it for a couple reasons. One, they didn't want to be a female alone walking into, different offices. But 2, it gave them courage. Now, these were all 3 of them very confident, very, well-dressed, carried themselves charismatically, strong women. But by themselves, they didn't always feel that confident and strength. But when 3 ladies walked in, different nationalities, different products, and different brands, it really was very effective for them because almost always one of them got into a business conversation based off of what they did because somebody could connect with the personality. So when they told me this, I thought it was freaking brilliant. I started implementing you go, I go strategies. And what that is you partner up with somebody and you go, okay, let's jump on a Zoom call and we'll sit right here and you're going to do a reach out to somebody on LinkedIn, Facebook, everything else. And when you're done, I'm going to do one. And then you're just going back and forth and you become each other's cheerleaders and really keep your head in the game to get through that. And I promise if you partner up with somebody and do that, you're going to be blown away by how much easier it is to do business development.
Yeah, it's awesome because it's way easier to pump somebody else up versus trying to sell yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
this has been a fun episode, guys. And we've got more to come on the sales and business development side in a couple more episodes. But seriously, thanks for tuning into these things. And if you got any value out of this, do me a favor and share this with a friend. Leave us a review and, just tell somebody about the messages and the stuff and the things we're putting out here.
Really appreciate that very much. You guys want to take it to the next level, come visit yourhighvibebiz.com. We've got our online mastermind rolling and some in-person meetings in Bethesda and even some coaching options on there now. So we would love for you to come visit. Ooh, and don't forget there's a beautiful free mindset training on your High Vibe Biz. So make sure you can grab that. You'll get a little bit of a taste of what we're doing over there.
That's awesome.